Hello and welcome to another episode of Archive West Texas, joined today by our producer Thomas Dye. Each week we try to bring you conversations with people whose vision, work, and lives have shaped the character of our region. We're pleased today to continue our conversation with Alex Scarborough of Tom's Tree Place. Last week Alex talked with us about how his family started the business. We're going to take a little deeper dive today into the growth of the business and some of the science of landscape architecture. Alex, thanks for being back with us today. Let's talk a little bit about the science of, I'm going to say the science of beauty. Landscape architecture, the design and discipline behind that. I know I'm not very good at just deciding I want to dig a hole and I think I'll just go pick out a plant. Tell us how that works and how that benefits your customers.
Well, landscape architecture was a term that was first coined by a guy named Frederick Law Olmsted. Frederick Law is the designer of Central Park, for instance.
Did he do the Washington Mall too, or am I?
Olmsted Brothers, his sons did the Washington Mall, and
Okay.
that is a great story, by the way. On a side note, but Frederick Law was one of the first guys to coin the term, and it was very inspirational. And what he would do is adapt a landscape, so by observation, adapt a landscape to human use, to what could be best used, or the possibilities and the challenges, and so
and somehow integrate that human use into the natural beauty of the environment.
Yeah, what good is a beautiful environment without being able to enjoy that by a human?
Yeah.
And so those things were developed. A guy named Charles Eliot, whose dad happened to be the president of Harvard University, started hanging out with Frederick Law Olmsted. So the first landscape architecture school was at Harvard, and it kind of took off from there. It would
not have guessed that.
Yeah. It was an extremely popular, and of course, as people experienced Central Park, for instance, they instantly knew of the value of what good design would be and how it can be beneficial to them.
So how do you make something that's both beautiful and functional?
Yeah, well, so that's really the art of landscape architecture, and that is, first of all, becoming well acquainted with the site, what its limitations and its possibilities are, and then listening to what the users are going to want, what they need, what can be accomplished. And so a lot of it's an investigative process at first. And then from that, trying to develop a plan by which you can meld all that together into a useful, beneficial, inspirational space for humans to be in. And, so many times those beautiful places are just where we meet as a community. And it's a community that happens at that space. And it may not be necessarily the planting that was there, but just creating a space, for human interaction. And then other times it is places of solitude or places of, all kinds of use, recreational. There's all kinds of needs that humans have. And so it's adapting our landscape to those needs.
Talk to our listeners about some of the tools and technologies and trends that you see. How is the discipline different today than it was in 1950?
In many ways, I don't think what I talked about before, the founding principles from landscape architecture, has pretty much stayed the same. Those things are constants. What we have now is a lot of whiz-bang with computers that can aid us in design, which is really not any different than when we drew everything with pencil on a drafting board. It just is, it's a database that we're creating instead of a drawing that we can query and get certain information from. But the good design comes from good designers, and we have the ability now more than ever before to illustrate our ideas to people, to communicate the things that we can do.
So you work typically with a homeowner, home builders. They might put in a yard, but they're not going to, or do you work with home builders?
Yeah, we work with, so we've worked a lot with developers over the time as they're developing property. more and more as time goes by. The closer we can get to the user, the better we like it. And I think the better our product is customized to their needs and their desires. And so we always like to be as close to the user as we can be. And so that's one of the things that we desire. A builder's purpose is going to be different than a homeowner's purpose. It's usually financial considerations, and so we would rather be with those people.
You alluded to it in our last discussions, but you mentioned that in the 50s, most businesses were there to do business, and they didn't really weren't too concerned about their landscape. But I think you've seen that change. How has that changed?
Yeah, you see, well, and a lot of it's how it's perceived. I often use a bank as a great example. You know, you pull up to a bank, and if their lawn is manicured and all the edges are edged and the sidewalks are clean and everything looks spick and span and inviting, you think those people are some good people. I'm going to go put some money in it. If you pulled up to that same business and it was, trash blowing across the parking lot and it was not attractive,
weeds 3 feet high, whatever.
You think, if these people can't manage the yard, how are they going to do managing my money, you know? Yeah. And so a lot of it is subtle and perception, but businesses have began to recognize that, and that they need to have a nice looking business, that it expresses competence, and it does a lot of things to a business. So, yeah, it's a lot more useful. And of course, the city has dictated that in many places now. And so city fathers decided that landscape quality is something that should be an ordinance, and they've created ordinances. And
it's not only important, it's
sometimes. And so a lot of businesses are going to be responsive just in order to check the box. And so we have to do that. But, it's a requirement now that they have a landscape plan as part of their building package, and the irrigation plan is part of their, and they can't get permitted until they do. So for a commercial business, it's a requirement now. It's just like fire code or many of the other requirements that they have to do.
We're visiting today with Alex Scarborough of Tom's Tree Place. Quick break, and be right back with Alex. Thanks for listening today. Welcome back to Archive West Texas. We're continuing our conversation today with Alex Scarborough of Tom's Tree Place. Alex, in our last segment, you were talking about how city codes are now requiring landscape. I just want to tell you how much I appreciate you and other members of your profession working closely with the city to keep those requirements in a good place for property developers and for homeowners. I appreciate the way you and your cohorts have been able to work with the city on that. Let's talk a little bit about how much the business has grown. I know your father passed away a few years ago. What would he think of Tom's Tree Place today?
Yeah, that's a question I ask myself often right there. I think he'd be proud of where we are. We have grown into a very capable organization. We have a lot of great equipment. We're a company of about 50 people all over, from everything from a waterman to some extremely trained specialists that do different things in our company. And we try to answer and respond to almost every kind of need or requirement that a landscape is going to need. So
talk me through some of the equipment that you have, because every time I'm driving down the street, I see a Tom's Tree Place truck or an excavator or a.
Well, I don't know how many. So equipment is going to be one of the keys to the future. it makes our people more productive. It makes their job easier. It does things that in some places that you just couldn't do without that. And so, yeah, we have, I don't know how many pickups we have, 25 or 30 driving around at any given time, and most of them pulling a trailer with some piece of equipment or some material on the back. Some of the really fun things that we had. In 1970, we had a tree farm, and we bought our first tree spade. And so that's a truck that specialized in digging and moving trees efficiently. And
You're not talking about a small spade. You're talking about
this was in its day was big. It's 44-inch. It dug a 44-inch wide hole. Down we have one that digs a 90-inch hole, and we've got it moves on a big Mack truck, and we can move bigger trees. And we have a lot of equipment that is at our tree farm, which we hadn't talked about much. But in 1970, we started a tree farm. It was on Brownfield Highway at Spur 327. We realized that the value of that land was changing, and we would lose that. So we relocated. We have a new tree farm. It's 54 acres between Alcove Avenue and 179 on 34th Street. And that's actually where our shop is now. And when you have a whole lot of equipment, you have a lot of equipment problems. And so we have two of our people are full-time mechanics.
Yeah.
You know, if you have track equipment, I joke about what piece of track equipment is in the shop today because, you know, it's just a constant struggle to keep everything moving, but they keep us moving so good. And it's a vital part of our business. I mean, I can't go without those two guys. They're so important to our business. And that much equipment moving every day, all day, you're just going to have a lot of light bulbs that go out and tires that are flat. And it just takes a lot of motion to keep all that moving.
Tell us about your team members. I'm guessing you have some real key people that have been with you for decades.
We do. My team, one of the things I'm most proud of is the longevity of our team. It's on average, well in excess of 20 years. And a lot of these people are people that came to work with us when they were young and have just stayed and have they're as dedicated to our company and our culture as I am. And they have a desire to deliver a good product to their customer. And so that we're really blessed. We can't make it without a team. We have the complexity of what we do has increased tremendously, and with that, we've had to. We have people that are certified in different areas in arboriculture and in irrigation, and there is 4 licensed landscape architects in our organization. We also have super talented people in landscape construction. I don't think anybody is our rival in that area. And it's because we have people who have done a lot of it and are really good at it. And so it's a value that we bring to the market that I think sets us apart.
Looking back, what are some of the projects that you all have worked on that you're most proud of? You
know, one of the projects that I was privileged to be on from the beginning was North Overton. And that was with Delbert McDougall and Park Hill Smith and Cooper was the design team on that. But we literally got to see that project's 1 mile long, half-mile wide. And I saw that project transform from being what was known as the ghetto when I was in school at Tech to an incredible student housing, complex that has shopping and
restaurants,
and it's just a vibrant part of our city, and has been an incredible success. Don't know, I thought Delbert might be crazy when he started that, and I think if he wouldn't have been a little crazy, he would have never started it. But Timing was everything. Timing was perfect, and it was just great fun to work on that project. We literally are still working there today, but to start at the inception and get to be a part of that team of talented people with vision that got to bring that to fruit. That's a great project. Kelsey Park is a neighborhood that we got to work on from the inception. That was really great. One of my most satisfying projects has been at the state school, and we, along with their team there, decided they wanted all of the cottages to be have some trees, and they're literally when you got past the administration building, there was no trees on the campus. It was just a buffalo grass lawn, and that place has been transformed, and the residents there love it, and we've got birds and wildlife on the campus now, and that we didn't used to have, and so that's been a really fun project. We've gotten to work with a lot of really talented other landscape architects, and we do a lot of bid-build work that they design, and because of our landscape construction expertise, we've gotten to build those. One of those projects was Centennial Park. It's in Midland. That's our biggest single project ever, and it is an incredible park, and part of the inspiration for what they want to do downtown park here too. Just a incredible development.
Those are big projects.
They're all great projects.
It takes a solid company to be able to build those. We're talking today with Alex Scarborough of Tom's Tree Place. He's given us a really excellent overview of the company history. We can take a quick break. When we come back, we'll talk about the legacy of his family and Tom's Tree Place. We'll be right back. Welcome back to Archive West Texas. We're continuing our conversation with Alex Scarborough of Tom's Tree Place. Alex, at the end of the day, Tom's Tree Place is a family business. Talk about the dynamics of a family business.
Yeah, well, working with your brothers is interesting because, you can fight with your brothers, but nobody better pick on them. They're watching my back too, and I've been blessed to get to work with Tom. It is my older brother, and Scott, my younger brother. My wife works in the business. She's worked with me since 1983 and has been a great blessing for our business. And, our areas of responsibility have been kind of unique and different. We complement each other really well. My older brother is semi-retired now. We still call on him for expertise on certain things. Rest of us are working, but looking. We're getting older. We're looking for the next thing, and that's something that's been on my mind for literally 20 years. I got to looking at, successful businesses going from the first to second generation. It's about 15 to 20% of businesses successfully transition to a second generation. And then out of that great universe, you've already trimmed off 85% of it. There's only about 5% that can make it that make it to the third generation. It's interesting, once you make it to the third generation, the fourth and the fifth usually follow. It's an interesting dynamic in that business. And the second generation's biggest calling, I think, is to figure out how to do that and do it successfully, and hopefully make a path for everybody else to follow. And so, as a second generation business owner, that's been on my mind a lot. And so we have a lot of second generation family members, and then I include in that family a lot of the talent that has come and worked their life with us too. And I think the Tom's Tree Place family will be made up of some blood and some adopted members, and that's what success will look like. Is hopefully transitioning to a third generation operating. My dad, translating from first to second in about the late 80s, bought a ranch, and he really just threw us boys the keys and said, I'll see y'all later. I'm going to be on the ranch. And that was kind of our transition. It was a sink or swim moment.
There you go.
And I think a sink or swim is going to come at every transition. You know, you get an opportunity and you either sink or swim.
That's a good way to put it. Good way to put it. How do you define success for your business and for yourself?
Well, you really want to be, so you want to be responsive to your customers. I think your customers are going to give you the grade at the end of the day. You know, in a free enterprise system, people vote with their dollars. And so a successful company is one that customers are willing to support. The other thing is something that one of the greatest honors that a business owner has is giving people a place to work that's honorable and something they can be proud of when they're done. One of the greatest benefits of being in my industry is we get to shine the apple. Whatever, we get to be there last, and we get to make it look better, and it looks better because we've been there. And you know, there's a lot of that feeds me in a lot of ways. And then having a place where people can find work for their life, and it's inspirational.
What does the 75th anniversary mean to you and your family?
Well,
that's a long run.
It is. Yep. It kind of snuck up on us, but last year we got to thinking, man, it's 75 years, and what should we do with it? And one of the things we did with it is we freshened up the old shop. So we tore out the front end of our store, and we redid it in ways that we kind of had always wanted to do, and repainted things. And, you know, we live in a building that Dad built for us that, honestly, I don't think it's halfway through its life.
He built it right.
Yeah, you know, you mentioned the word sustainable at one point, and it's as close to sustainable as it can be. But that doesn't mean we use it the way he built it. Again, we're using it in a different way, and just using the facility there, but in a constantly different way. And so, but we're really honored to be. It's not every business that makes it 75 years. We realize we're in a rare era, and I don't think we got there because we're smarter than other people or we're better than other people, but it does come from a principle of, hey, you get up and go to work every day, and you look up one day and you've been in business 75 years.
Yeah. And you're exactly right. It's customer driven.
Yeah.
Hat tip to all those
Thanks.
folks. Looking ahead,
Yeah.
what do you hope people be saying about Tom's Tree Place 25 years from now?
Well, I hope we say that's amazing. They made it to the third generation successfully. I hope that we're always known for quality in our construction and our plant material, and that our people are friendly, and it's a place you can go and get information when you need information, that we become a source of that. Now, we've contributed to our community, that Lubbock is better because we are here. So
Lubbock's definitely more beautiful because Tom's Tree Place has been here. What's the best advice your parents ever gave you?
Best advice? Oh, let me think. The best advice. I would go with my mom's favorite scripture was that the eyes of the Lord are always roaming the earth looking for those who love the Lord. And I think that both of them demonstrated for me a faith that was authentic, and it was never fake. And some of the things, the best, they may not have said it, they did it, and it was their actions. And I grew up wanting to be like my dad, and because of his actions. He was a man of action and a man of his word and a man of great faith. And it was inspirational to be with those people.
It's a wonderful legacy.
Yeah, thank you.
And a good place for us to wrap up our conversation. Alex, thank you for joining us,
Well,
and thank you for sharing the story of your parents and Tom's Tree Place. Thanks for what your business and your family do for our community, and really appreciate you being our guest on Archive West Texas.
It was a pleasure being here, Gordon.
Want to remind our listeners that if you have a suggestion for a future guest, or if you're interested in listening to any of our previous episodes, you can do that off of our website at classical1057.org, or you can find our app and access our episodes there. Thank you very much for listening. We'll be back next week with another edition of Archive West Texas.